Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to unravel the lost physics, the incredibly high-stakes history, and the deeply buried secrets of an absolute architectural masterpiece. This is a structure that has literally been baffling the world for centuries, so let's get right into it. Let's start with a date that changed everything, 1903. This was a massive turning point when Bengal's lieutenant governor, J.A. Bordelin, gave a totally shocking order. He basically decided to fill a centuries-old sanctuary with millions of tons of sand. So you really have to wonder, why did a supposedly standard structural repair feel more like a live burial? To figure that out, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly was hidden in the pitch-black darkness of the Garbhagriha, or the Sanctum Sanctorum, that they felt the need to lock away? Well, long before it was ever sealed up in sand, Portuguese sailors were absolutely terrified of this place. They actually called it the Black Pagoda, and the reason is wild. Something inside the structure was totally messing with their compasses and literally pulling their ships into a watery grave. Let's move into our first section, Ancient Wheels of Time. To understand that dangerous magnetic power, we've got to jump back to the 13th century. King Narasimhadeva I spared absolutely no expense here. Built between 1238 and 1264 CE, this colossal chariot for the sun god was a massive political flex and a religious marvel. It cost the equivalent of 12 years of the state's entire revenue. He had an army of 1,200 master artisans working under the lead architect, Bishu Marahana. Now check out these 24 massive stone wheels at the base of the temple. They are definitely not just decorative. You could actually place a finger on a wheel and use the shadow to tell the exact time, down to the minute. You've got 8 large spokes showing 3-hour gaps, and the smaller sub-spokes break that down into precise 3-minute intervals. It is a brilliant piece of ancient astronomy carved right into the stone. And here is where it gets even more mind-blowing. The chariot is pulled by 7 carved horses. Sure, they represent the 7 days of the week, but they also represent the 7 colors of sunlight. The architects of Konark were carving the physics of the light spectrum into rock almost 400 years before modern science, Sir Isaac Newton with his glass prism in 1666, officially discovered it. Next up, Section 2, the floating sun idol. Inside the temple, the massive Ashtadhatu, or 8-metal idol of the sun god, didn't just sit on a pedestal. It floated in midair. No magic here, just pure, highly advanced physics. They engineered a perfectly balanced diamagnetic field. By using opposing magnetic forces, they created a powerful equilibrium that kept this giant idol suspended right there in the center of the room. 52. That is the staggering weight in tons of the massive magnetic capstone they placed at the very peak of the temple. This 52-ton giant was the engine, the core magnetic pole that made the whole levitation effect possible. But how did they hold it all together? They used a brilliantly advanced iron lock system. We're talking giant sandstone blocks held tight without a single drop of cement, connected entirely by thick iron plates and clamps. This iron did double duty. It made the structure practically earthquake-proof, and it simultaneously conducted the magnetic field from that 52-ton capstone straight down to the floating idol. Moving right along to Section 3, Sacrifice of the Young Architect. This towering achievement of physics came with a really devastating human cost. When the master builders couldn't manage to balance that monstrous 52-ton magnet, King Narasimhadeva issued a totally terrifying ultimatum. He declared that if the capstone wasn't installed by sunrise, all 1,200 artisans would be beheaded. That completely brought construction to a panicked halt. Then, a 12-year-old prodigy named Dharmapada stepped in. He was the son of the lead architect, Bishu Maharana. What these seasoned veterans couldn't solve in 12 long years, this young kid figured out in a few hours. Using sheer intuitive engineering, he climbed up in the dead of night and perfectly balanced the magnetic capstone. But the story takes a tragic turn. To protect the 1,200 artisans from the king's wrath, because the king definitely wouldn't be thrilled that his master builders were outsmarted by a child, Dharmapada made the ultimate sacrifice. He jumped from the top of the temple straight into the Chandrabhaga River. It's a pretty somber realization that the absolute brilliance of this diamagnetic field was sealed with a young boy's life. This brings us to Section 4, the Black Pagoda's Fall. Fast forward a few centuries, and the exact mechanics that made the temple a miracle became the literal cause of its doom. Looking at this timeline, General Kalapahad's attack in 1568 definitely weakened things, but that iron lock system held on. The real disaster happened in the 17th century. Portuguese sailors were so sick of their compasses failing and their ships wrecking that they just outright stole the 52-ton magnetic capstone. It was a maritime heist that finally broke the temple. Taking that massive magnet away triggered an absolutely catastrophic chain reaction. The moment it was gone, the diamagnetic equilibrium was instantly shattered. The iron lock plates lost all their tension and grip. The floating idol crashed down, which the priests quickly had to hide in the sand, and this incredible, thriving hub of ancient science slowly began collapsing into a total ruin. And finally, Section 5, Unlocking the Buried Secrets. That brings us right back to the modern era and the painstaking process of undoing that 1903 burial. Decades of total silence are finally ending. Back in 2022, the ASI planned to unseal the doors. And right now, as of December 2025, the ASI and IIT Madras are actively conducting core drilling to assess the wall strength before they actually evacuate the sand. We are getting so incredibly close to looking inside. 13.5. Modern drilling has revealed something super fascinating. The sand packed inside over a century about has actually settled by 13.5 meters. That means there's a massive empty void waiting for us right at the top of the sanctuary. Which leaves us with this final burning thought. As the Archaeological Survey of India inches closer and closer to finally opening those doors and clearing out all that sand, what other mind-blowing, physics-defying ancient sciences have been perfectly preserved in the dark all this time? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and definitely stay curious out there as we wait to find out.